Yeah, yeah. Steelers by the lake, wouldn't win to say. James Strong, Cody Tanner, host on the mic. About to dive in deep, keep it live, that's right.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this rainy Sunday morning?
James, I am doing fantastic. I'm tired, but I'm fantastic. Busy weekend for me. But busy isn't always bad. So doing good, James. How are you?
I'm doing good as well, man. Probably the earliest we've recorded a show in a long time, but
very long time.
sometimes that's the only time that works. So that's what we're gonna do, just to get another show out to you folks.
Yep, absolutely. We are excited to talk about some Steelers news, talk about a little bit more about the draft, also undrafted guys, and then also some schedule release things. So before we go too far, we do have Steelers by the Lake news. As it's a new month, we always share with you guys the top downloaded countries and states. James, if you want me to do the states, you can do the countries.
Sounds good.
Here we go. Number 1, top 5 downloaded states from last month, April 2025. Number 1, taking Pennsylvania off the top of the board, California. Congratulations, California. I don't know what y'all are doing over there, but keep it up because we enjoy seeing those Cali downloads. Number 2, also not Pennsylvania. Very impressed here that they fell multiple spots. New York. New York top 2 downloaded states. Number 3, Pennsylvania. Thank you for coming back. We're glad you're still here. I would only be, I don't know if it's concerned or impressed if PA ever drops out of the top 5. That'd be wild. Number 4, New Jersey. So thank you to the New Jerseyans. And then number 5, Virginia. So top 5. Thank you all. 4 out of the 5, northeast of the country. And then you got Cali over there be doing Cali things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been crazy seeing how strong of a following we've had in California since like the very beginning of the show 6+ years ago at this point now. So very fun. Appreciate all the new listeners. Just a quick shout out. We got some listeners in different states last month that we've never had before, including Alaska and Hawaii. So really appreciate those of you who listen from those states for the very first time and hope you keep on coming back for more. In addition to that, we always give you top 5 countries as well. Of course, United States of America, number 1. Canada came in at number 2 with 3 different provinces this time. So we've got a little bit of a spread going on up there in Canada. The United Kingdom coming in at 3. Poland coming in at 4. And Spain bringing up the rear in 5th place. If you listened to the show a couple weeks ago, this month was a huge month for us in countries, with a good 25 or 30 of them, I think, total. So appreciate all of those new countries and listeners, and each and every one of you means a lot to us to see numbers just spike like that.
Yeah, we absolutely love it. So thank you so much. Before we hop into Steelers news, James, do you want to give a little moment to our sponsors?
Absolutely, yes. Supporters of the Steelers by the Lake podcast include Edinburgh Hotel Bar at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh, providing a variety of lunch and dinner items every day, along with a full-service catering and private party accommodations. Details are available at 814-734-5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com.
Boom. Thank you, Edinburgh Hotel. I was there last night celebrating a good buddy's birthday.
Nice.
So, yeah, happy birthday again to you, Hunter Bean. I know you're not a massive Steelers guy, but if you happen to listen to this show, you do get a small shout out. So
there we go.
There we go. All right, James, we got 4 pieces of Steelers news real quick, and then we'll talk about some draft stuff. Big one off the bat is Steelers reliefs defensive lineman Montravius Adams. I'm not gonna lie, that one caught me off guard. I kind of expected to see him at least at camp. So
it's kind of funny. Like, it's never funny when a guy loses his job, don't get me wrong. But like during our live broadcast when they drafted I'm now learning it's Yahweh Black.
Yahweh?
Why yay?
Why yay? I have heard why yay.
Why yay black is the correct pronunciation there. I'm trying to retrain myself because it looks like it would be Yaya Black, but that's not it at all. It's why yay black. Anyway, when they drafted him during our live show, I mentioned that I thought that probably would spell the end of the time for Montravius Adams on the roster, and that's it. Like the day after the draft, they released him. So that's exactly what the issue is there. Now, when they introduced Y.A. Black, they did say that they anticipated playing him a lot of defensive end.
Yep.
He's got the frame for defensive end. He's also got the size to play inside. And from what I understand, a lot of his better tape is playing inside. So I feel like that really just kind of made Montravius Adams expendable. And yeah,
You were right.
I'm not super surprised by the move. There had to be a move at some point in time for an infusion of youth to give these young guys a chance. We still have Logan Lee from last year who never got to see the field.
Another Iowa guy, too.
Another Iowa defensive lineman along with him. So there's a big influx of young guys for this defensive line now. They need to really show what they've got in the preseason because it's going to be a heated battle, man. This is going to be tough. I mean, we got to keep in mind they brought in the guy from the Patriots, Daniel Aquale. He was paid enough that you would have thought that he was going to get a starting position. Now he's probably not going to start because of Harmon. So it's almost like you've got 4 locks if you're not including Y.A. Black. If you include him, that's 5. And then are you really not going to include Dean Lowry? Are you not going to include DeMarvin Leal, Logan Lee, Isaiah Loudermilk?
So going through this defensive line, you got Y.A. Black, DeMarvin Leal, Etsy Atamuo, Keanu Benton, Dominique Davis, Daniel Ukele, Derek Harmon, Cameron Hayward, Logan Lee, Isaiah Loudermilk, Jacob Slate, Dean Lowry.
And that's not including Cam Hayward, I don't think, on that.
I did say Cam.
I did say Cam. Okay, so that's a dozen guys.
Yeah.
That's a dozen guys, and they usually keep 6, sometimes 7. So it's going to be, I mean, looking at that list, obviously there's like 3 or 4 of them that we can mentally cut off the back end of that real easily. But it's going to be a real serious competition for the last couple spots. That's going to make our roster predictions real difficult this year.
It really, really is. It's going to be,
but it should make the preseason really exciting, and I'm here for that, man. I'm here for seeing second string and third string defensive linemen out there dominating the offensive linemen that they go against.
And if you happen to be joining this, like listening or watching this podcast for the first time in a while, or for the first few times, James a little bit more than myself, probably just because of the passion, but also me. We love preseason due to the fact that this is what it's about for these guys. Like some of these guys that get undrafted or even go through the late rounds of the draft, this is them fighting for their roster spot. This is veterans fighting for maybe their first break on a new team. Like this preseason is a time that so many people are like, get rid of these preseason games. They're dumb. They don't matter. Like this means so much to certain players. And it's very honestly, very exciting to watch because you're seeing guys that aren't just playing because they're getting paid for it. They're playing because they want to make a career out of it because it's their passion. And I'm not saying the guys that make mucho millions of dollars don't have passion, but once you make it, I think you have a different level of respect to the game where sometimes they make, quote unquote, they call it business decisions. You know, you don't want to get hurt. You make a safe play, whatever. These guys are out there throwing themselves around and playing very, very hard football because they want to make a roster spot. And so it's a different kind of football, in my opinion, than watching regular season. Regular season obviously matters more to fans and the players and the teams and the organizations and the cities. But if you haven't watched a preseason game in a while, go watch a preseason game. They're pretty exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's your career is on the line, especially these late draft picks and undrafted guys.
Yep.
You know, if you don't make that initial team for the first team you get a chance to in the NFL, man, you might never make a team. So it's so important for those guys to give everything they've got. You see it. You see it on the field. And when there's a lack of effort, that's why people get so upset. Because there's guys that end up just barely getting onto a practice squad, and they're on a practice squad for 4 or 5 years like James Harrison before they finally get a chance to make it to the NFL, scraping by in NFL terms. I think last time I checked, the practice squad guy makes somewhere around like $170,000, $180,000 a year.
Yep.
But the back of the roster NFL guys on the 53 make $1 million. That's a huge difference in pay.
And don't assume. I think some people have and this is getting a little bit more quote unquote political, I think, about it. Don't assume that those practice squad guys have it made because they're on the practice squad making that kind of money. There's a lot of expenses that they have that you don't process just from them being in the NFL. Like they got to buy certain things. You don't just get stuff for free because you work for an organization. Like some things you got to buy, you got to pay for. There's a lot of different things that go into. I mean, they got to pay their agents a portion of that as well. So don't assume these practice squad's a rough thing in all honesty. So big shout out to the guys that make practice squads and stick with that all year, because it can be also demoralizing to you to be stuck on a practice squad watching guys that are doing the same thing you do, except they dress on Sundays and you're making not even a fraction of what they make. So very understandable, and respect out to those guys. James, we're getting a little off topic. Let's go back. Steelers released somebody else, and this was an unfortunate one.
Yeah, Ryan Watts, the safety from last year. He was mostly a corner in college. Last year, he was a rookie, 7th round pick. Got injured in the final play of the final preseason game. So we never really learned a lot about it other than there was a neck injury involved. There were rumors that he was making it through his rehab process and things were going well for him, but he failed his physical with the team. And upon that examination, they determined it would be in his best interest to not play football again. So the neck injury is very serious, unfortunately, for the young man. From what I understand, he has full mobility. He doesn't have any issues like what Ryan Shazier had, for example. But it's in a bad enough state that, one wrong hit could cause some serious damage to him health-wise for his long-term life. So Pittsburgh, not willing to take the chance, told him you need to retire, and they are moving on from him as a football player, but not as a human being. They released a statement saying that they are committed to helping him in the transition in his post-NFL now career.
Yeah.
So looks like you've got that up if you want to read that.
Yep. Omar Khan released a statement saying, unfortunately, today we are releasing Ryan Watts from our roster after consulting with our medical team, medical experts, and Ryan's representatives. We all agree that it is in Ryan's best interest to discontinue playing football at this time. We will continue to assist and support Ryan as he transitions to the next phase of his life. So very, very sad. And then also on top of that, Ryan issued a statement as well. And he said, I have dedicated my entire life to my dream of playing professional football since I was just 6 years old. Because of the injury I sustained last year, I had to make the heartbreaking decision to step away from the game that I've worked so hard for. While the situation is extremely difficult to come to terms with, I remain grateful to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to make my NFL dreams come true. Thank you to the Rooney family, General Manager Omar Khan, Coach Mike Tomlin, Dr. David Okonkwo, and his medical staff, and the entire Steelers family for treating me with the immense care and respect during this challenging time. I remain optimistic about the opportunities that lay ahead, and I am still very proud of how far I've come as a competitor. I refuse to let this setback define me. While my current path may be changing, I remain open to new opportunities and possibilities. My passion and determination are stronger than ever, and I trust that with God's guidance, I will find the strength to embrace whatever comes next. My journey is far from over. So, great statement by both Omar Khan and him. We obviously support him and whatever he does next. Who knows? Maybe he'll be on the podcast. We'll find out. The invitation's there, Ryan. Come chat with us. But yeah, it's just unfortunate when that those things kind of happen. And
Yeah.
Same. I mean, we that happened with a local guy for us from Meadville. So he played running back in his high school career and then went on to play for Penn State, Journey Brown, and never got to make his NFL dreams come true because of injuries and stuff that he had to be careful of. So that is tough. That's a big thing. So prayers go out to him. Hopefully my big thing is I hope that whatever it is doesn't affect him doing other things moving forward. You know what I mean? So that's my big prayer and hope for him. So James, it's time to switch gears a little bit. We're gonna go into not releasing, but signing.
Yeah. Weird for this time of year, right?
Very weird.
Pittsburgh did acquire Robert Woods, the experienced NFL wide receiver. 1-year deal, $2 million. If that's not a veteran minimum contract for a guy his age, it's got to be pretty close to it. So this is not a huge needle mover. Good insurance policy, in my opinion. A guy that knows how to block and has been around the league, knows how to be a professional. So if something were to happen, you'd feel a little bit better about the room. But I don't expect this to be a big impact on the roster. And I think there's an outside chance he doesn't make the 53.
Yep, I'm right there with you. He's been in the league since 2013, played his first ball with Buffalo for his rookie contract, then went on to the Los Angeles Rams, played for Tennessee for a year and Houston the past 2 years. Yeah, I don't want to say he's the first guy off in my board because there's obviously guys that are even more than that. But when you go up I guess technically he would be the first guy off if you go up that list. I think he's kind of there because he's not going to play special teams for you. He's not going to be a gunner. So he doesn't take the position of Ben Skoranek in my mind. We haven't even seen Roman Wilson. Miles Austin is our speedy deep threat guy. And then you got DK or Calvin. What did I say? Miles? Yeah. No, Miles.
Yeah.
Calvin or DK and George are your two outside guys. So it's like.
Yeah, the only person that he competes with is Skoranek, and then you got to find a new gunner.
Yeah,
I think Skoranek's special team value is incredible.
Or depending on what the injury is with Roman Wilson.
Yeah, but they said that he was a couple weeks away from coming back.
I sure hope so.
So, yeah. I don't see any reason for them to be moving on from any of those guys. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And both Cody and I are very skeptical of Pittsburgh keeping 6 wide receivers. That's the reason that we think that this ends up being a very low impact move. But the other question mark here, Cody, is I'm sure you heard the rumors by now. Apparently, the Dallas Cowboys really tried to acquire George Pickens during the draft. They just didn't offer enough capital for Pittsburgh to be interested.
And I don't think they change it now.
No, I think, though, if someone were to come to Pittsburgh with the right amount of capital in next year's draft, I think they'd listen.
Yep.
But it's got to be, I don't think they'll take anything less than a second-round pick, and it might even have to be a second-round pick plus more. Because they know in free agency, if they lose him in free agency and don't sign him to a long-term deal, then he's going to make enough money that they'll get a third-round pick back in the compensatory formula. So why would you trade him for anything less than a second? I don't see any reason to.
And I think there's also the aspect that I don't think some people process is you sign DK to a multiple-year contract.
Yep.
If you see success with whoever at quarterback, with both DK and George on the outsides, that may be more enticing for you to keep DK for a long-term deal. Like if you can see the kind of success he can have with, I think, some people argue George isn't an actual number 1 wide receiver. Well, DK is. I'm sorry. Yeah. DK is. And so if that's your argument, if that was your argument with wanting to see what George can do, this is your time to see that. Maybe George goes off this year because he's not taking all the heat and all the double teams. So that first 6 weeks go by, if George isn't producing as much as they thought, maybe then they'll listen to trades, but it's going to be at least a second. It's going to be at least another pick in next year's draft and probably a pick in the following year draft as well. Bare minimum, in my opinion. So
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity from what I understand and for my personal opinion too. I don't think they acquired DK Metcalf to replace George Pickens.
No.
It was to accompany him on the other side and give two weapons. They saw how dangerous it was for the Cincinnati Bengals last year with two top tier wide receivers.
Yep.
They saw what Minnesota did last year, putting up an insane amount of points on everybody and winning like 13 games or some crazy thing last year. And that was without incredible quarterback play. They just had awesome wide receivers. So Pittsburgh's trying to kind of blend the most successful things in the NFL with high investment at the offensive line, with a running back with good vision now, in addition to Jalen Warren, and some explosiveness, with a dangerous wide receiver core with a blend of size and speed guys. You shouldn't need a high end quarterback for this to be a very, very productive offense this season.
Yeah. So I will say this also while we're talking about the quarterback or while we're talking about the wide receivers and the quarterback stuff. I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast yet or not. Did you see that Steelers gave Aaron a deadline of like, let us know 48 hours before the draft if you're going to come play for us? And apparently at that point, and even at day 2 of the draft, they still hadn't heard from him. That was the running quote I had from, I believe it was either NFL Network or ESPN that they talked about that. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I have not heard of that from anyone until you right now. So
I'll need to find my quote at some point. I could have swore it was like either Adam Schefter or the one guy from NFL Network. I'll have to look it up.
Rappaport, maybe.
It might have been Rappaport, but I'll look that up real quick. But apparently there's a new deadline for him. I don't remember where I saw that, but I'm going to look that up too. But very, very interesting to see what could happen with that. So again, at this point, Will Howard is probably fighting Mason Rudolph for a starting position at this exact point. But if Aaron comes in, that'll obviously be probably his job to lose. Just like it was for Russ.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And I think, me personally, I don't think that Will Howard would even be in consideration for the starting job.
That's fair.
He'd have to really, really blow it up in the preseason. And I don't even know how many snaps he's going to get in the preseason. You know, you would think that they'll go heavy for him because they pretty much know what they have in Mason. If you do end up getting Aaron Rodgers, which I still believe is going to happen, then you pretty much know what you have with Aaron as well. He should get a couple reps with the starters just to get that chemistry down. But beyond that, you need to see a lot of Will Howard in this preseason. It's just, my concern is if he doesn't get on the field much this year, he might not really ever get a chance to start in the NFL.
Okay, according to, and I agree with you. According to insider Josina Anderson, Pittsburgh informed Rodgers that he needed to give them his 2025 decision 48 hours before the start of the 2025 NFL draft. And with day 2 currently underway, this was written back then, he clearly missed the deadline. So, unfortunate.
That's a bold thing for Josina to say.
I remember them talking about it on like the actual news as well. It came from someone else. Yeah. Steelers know the outcome of that conversation. So very, very interesting. But I mean, whether it's true or not, I can't imagine they didn't want to know before the draft.
Oh, they absolutely wanted to know. But I also still truly believe that there's a deal basically in place. Rodgers just doesn't want to do any of this minicamp stuff.
Yeah.
And he had no intention of coming before any of that's over. And then he'll consider it. And I think it was also in Pittsburgh's best interest. They clearly had no interest in signing any of these top quarterbacks in the draft. So bringing them all in was just a giant smoke screen so that people wouldn't take the defensive lineman they wanted in the first round.
Yep.
And it worked. You know, they spoke very glowingly of the meeting with Shedeur Sanders and And the later we're going into this, we're finding out some of the things that Shador has done and said in some of his interviews.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise that he didn't get drafted till the 5th round.
This is a very political thing in the world of football, but I'm very interested to see what his Madden rating is. If it's true to where he got drafted, or if they give him a boost because Dion's his dad.
I think they'll give him a boost because they anticipated him being drafted higher. So I think it'll be less about his dad and more about the fact that guys like Mel Kiper had him going as a lock in the 1st round, and even
Mel Kiper is a never mind.
Yeah, Mel Kiper's on something on this one, man. he's really on something. Most other draft analysts had Shador as a 2nd or 3rd round guy.
Yep.
Mel obviously was very, very bold on he's got to be a 1st and he's got to be high in the 1st. I will argue for years, unless Shador proves otherwise, that it makes it very difficult to pick a guy that high when he doesn't have one single dominating trait.
Yep.
His best trait was his accuracy. You know who that sounds like to me? Kenny Pickett. That was his best trait coming out. He was an athletic kid, but not an incredibly athletic kid. Kenny was a bigger kid than Shador. He's 6'3", 220. And Shador was 6'1", 212. Didn't run a 40. Didn't throw at the combine. Didn't play in the West Shrine game that he went to. He shows up to interviews, with a big chain on and his hat on backwards, looking like he just isn't taking it serious.
I can't believe he said the one thing he said. He said, "Do you know who my dad is?" during one of the interviews, like that I saw on TV. And it's just
that is the most entitled answer you could possibly have. And for a lot of organizations, when they hear something like that, they don't want anything to do with you. Nope. You're off the board completely if you show some kind of entitlement before you've even made it to the NFL.
The other thing was, I don't know if you saw any of the workout stuff he did with Cam Ward.
Yeah, that was bad.
And he was like, "You wanna make a beat, like make a song or whatever?" And he's like, Cam Ward was perfect. I play football.
Yeah.
You can't have hobbies. I play football.
Yeah.
Like like every NFL exec that saw that was like, well, shoot, he's going number 1.
Yeah.
Like,
and the difference, like they're going through drills while they're doing this. If you haven't seen these, I highly suggest it. The amount of zip on the ball when Cam Ward threw the ball versus Shador Sanders was night and day. You could hear the noise hitting the receiver's hand when Cam threw the ball. And when Shador threw it, it was like it was a lob, and that was, you could tell he was throwing it with everything he had. He just doesn't have a very strong arm. Over and over on tape, you saw Travis Hunter have to stop on his routes and then high point the ball and out jump people on deep balls because he just couldn't throw it far enough. So he doesn't have that strong of an arm. He's not big. He's not all that athletic. His accuracy is his big trait, and he was playing at Colorado. So he wasn't playing against some serious competition. So, yeah, I get it. I get why.
And his numbers already retired.
Yeah, for going 13-12. Incredible.
Yeah, kind of crazy. All right, let's transition and talk about this draft. James, we're going to talk about our favorite draft picks and then our favorite undrafted free agents. You want to go first on the draft picks? And then we'll swap for the undrafted?
No, I'll let you go first on both.
Ooh, first on both of them. Number 1 for draft pick. My favorite draft pick is probably going to be the only one that I mocked in the quarterback, Will Howard. I think that Will Howard, honestly, probably has the best tape of a quarterback that we've drafted since Ben. I don't not that Kenny's film was bad, but I feel like Will Howard, just like we talked about on the show, when it came to clutch time, when it came to the end of his college career and getting in that playoffs, he led a team to the national championship in his final year, and I think that speaks a lot to especially when you consider where he started. Everyone's seen the interviews where he didn't have these offers coming out of high school from all these schools that he wanted to go to, and then he went to Ohio State. Actually, no, he went to a smaller school first, and played fairly well there, and then moved up. And the more I hear it, and it's funny, John Gruden, in his quarterback breakdown that he does every year of like the draft, the quarterback prospects, he compared him side by side, like height, weight wise, and everything to Josh Allen. And the more I hear his story, the more it even reminds me of Josh Allen. Didn't Josh Allen like email like 150 schools, like, please give me a chance or whatever? There was something crazy that Josh Allen did. And I just see the passion behind Will Howard and the excitement that he has to play for Pittsburgh, quite frankly. That it just feels like a match made in heaven. It just feels like we finally have someone who wants to be here. Kenny Pickett kind of felt that way, but not once did I feel like he was as passionate and excited to play for Pittsburgh as Will Howard is. And so maybe that speaks volumes just about who they are as people and what they show emotion wise. Or maybe this shows a lot of heart and a lot of grit and a lot of excitement that Will Howard actually has to come in and work hard. So Will Howard, hands down, is mine. I have a close second, and I'm not going to go into that, but very, very, very excited for Will Howard to come in and compete for that, because he could be fighting for a starting job next year. So real excited to see what he can do in preseason.
I like your pick. I think one of the exciting things for me about him is that low-key, he's more athletic than people realize. In his college career, he had 2 70-plus yard touchdown runs, and he had an 80-plus yarder as well. So when he gets to scooting, he's got some speed to him. He's not like a sudden dude where he's really, really quick in his first few steps. But when he gets to that build-up speed, man, he can move. So that could be a real fun thing to see, especially early in some preseason games this year. For me, I'm actually going to go Caleb Johnson. As much as I love defensive players, I want to go with a running back that I feel like has the vision that we just haven't seen in a long time. We didn't have that incredible vision and patience with Najee. Connor was a good running back. I really liked James Conner. But I feel like the level of vision that we see from Caleb Johnson is like a whole different level on tape, especially with how bad that offense was. For him to be as productive as he was with Iowa is nothing short of a miracle, really. So I love the thought. I love the fact that he doesn't fumble. I love the contact balance. I love the long arms that he has. It allows him to stiff arm people on the second level. So I'm just really excited about Caleb Johnson. And I think that we finally got a guy in the draft that I think is going to make it to a second contract. I think we're finally going to see a guy make it to a second contract and really put a stamp on history in Steelers football history. I think we're going to see it with this kid. And it's about time, because we've had some good running backs come through, and none of them just had the longevity that they should have with us. Yeah,
you want to know who he reminds me of, and this is a big comparison, but Will Howard, when I watch his highlights, just because I want to go back to that, and then I do want to talk about Caleb because I'm gonna have a highlight to show of him as well. Will Howard reminds me so much of Ben, especially on this play. The quarterback presence, or the pocket presence, and the ability to feel the pressure coming behind him and then extending the play and making it last longer while consistently looking downfield. Just reminds me so much of Ben. And then you're right. I'm also very excited for Caleb Johnson. I think Caleb, and I talked about it, I think last week, he's still a bigger guy. He's 6'1". He's bigger than the Jaylen Warren is, but he's speedy still. He doesn't lose as much speed that I feel like Najee loses when trying to find a hole, when trying to look for somewhere to run the ball. And and I don't know if we talked about, I think it was you that talked about this, that it just felt like Najee's vision was off. There were times where he had lanes to run through and didn't choose to run through them. I don't know if at Alabama their running style was just that drastically different than ours, or if he was more confident or what it was, but it didn't look, he ran hard. He ran angry. He ran tough. But I almost feel like he missed opportunities to run different ways. And so Caleb Johnson is a very exciting pick for me, because I still think that he has, everyone talks about in-game speed. And I still think that he has that separation between his 40 time and his in-game speed, because he just breaks away from people. And this very first play that I want to show from him, it shows his balance and his speed and his cutback ability, but he breaks off a tackle there, and then he just outruns people into the end zone. I mean, it's not, and again, this is college guys. They're probably not as fast, but the screen game He can find holes. I mean, honestly, a big shout out to his wide receivers there. If our wide receivers block like this and everything, we'll be fine. But his power too. He just pushed a guy 5 yards and then got off him. So I can't agree more with that pick as well. I'm very excited to see what Caleb Johnson can do because I think it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
it reminds me a little bit of who do we have? We called him, or it wasn't us. It was the Tennessee Titans, wasn't it? They had like thunder and lightning.
There's been a few thunder and lightnings over the years. The Giants had
it
too.
The Giants had it. You're right. I'm thinking the Carolina Panthers with Jonathan Stewart and was it D'Angelo Williams?
Yep. Yeah, D'Angelo was a stud for us.
Dude, he was. He came in and played really well. So that's exciting. James, time to go over a favorite undrafted free agents. You want me to go first on this one too?
I'd like you to go first again. Yeah, because I'm multiple on this one.
Ooh, I'm going to stick with one. I'm not going to cheat like James is going to cheat, and that's fine. You want to make sure it's different for me. I understand.
Yes. There we go.
so mine's going to be keeping it familiar and similar with the entire draft. We drafted 2 guys out of Iowa, and then a third one came in the undrafted phase, which is Sebastian Castro. He's a guy, a safety that we talked about during the pre-draft process, and just very, very excited. And so I'm excited for this because this is a guy that, we added Juan Thornhill in free agency. But Sebastian Castro, I think, can come in and add a different kind of spark because he's kind of that dual threat safety. He can play tough against the run, and he can also play back and pick off some balls. So I think if he can come in and, honestly, I think fight for a roster spot and eventually even start, you got to remember the guys that we have set up beside Minka have always been level 2 starters in the NFL. I don't think these guys were ever like on a team that it's like, yes, they're the starter every single year. There's no competition. Deshaun Elliott's always had competition in my mind. And then Juan Thornhill was a high draft pick, if I remember correctly, for Cleveland.
He was a Chief first and then went to Cleveland.
Yes. But I still don't feel like he's been considered the hands down starter on all the teams he's played for. I think there's still a lot left to be desired out of both those guys, but we have such high regard for them because they're drastic step ups from what we've been used to at that second safety position. So I'm excited for Sebastian because I think he can come in and genuinely fight for a roster spot as one of the undrafted free agents. And so I'm excited to see what he can do because he might give the ability for Minka to be more Minka. And that's what we've always talked about with some of these other safeties coming into the room and coming into that secondary is Minka going to have a better year now because he has support. And I think Sebastian's the first guy in a while that can come in and give him support in 2 ways. I think some of these guys have come in and we're like, well, we at least got support against the run now. Or, we at least got support against covering tight ends now. I think he's the first guy that can kind of do both fairly well. So that's going to be my number 1 undrafted free agent guy just because of the excitement and the fact that we talked about him in the pre-draft. We were hoping he'd get drafted and boom, he didn't even get drafted. He's still here. So very, very, very excited for him.
Yeah, he's a really good talent for him to go undrafted. And his chances of making the team just got drastically better with the Ryan Watts retirement. So that was 1A for me. I couldn't agree with you more about Sebastian Castro. He's exciting. He can play both free and strong, and he might even make the team. If they keep 5 safeties, which they don't really consider Miles Killebrew a safety, but he's on the roster as a safety, I would think he's the favorite to be the number 4 safety right now in that room. So he's an exciting one to watch in this preseason. He should get a lot of burn. Behind him,
I think I know where you're going.
Go for it.
Are you going to the fullback?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
DJ Thomas Jones out of South Alabama. He is a big, strong, fast, compact dude. And Arthur Smith's offense is known for using a fullback. Connor Hayward is a lot smaller than any other fullback in the NFL. He's not really a true fullback. He's a running back trying to play tight end and fullback. And it just has had some good moments, but it's had a lot of underwhelming moments too. this guy is a lot bigger. He's like a good 20 pounds heavier, and he's faster. And I really think that there's a serious possibility of Pittsburgh moving on from Connor Hayward in favor of DJ Thomas Jones. And if they were to do so, I think you're also going to see those short yardage situations with him as a fullback look a lot more productive than what we're used to with other guys trying to be fullback the last couple of years. Because there just hasn't been a true one on the team. And I feel like the best fullback play that we got out of this offense in years was probably when Henry Mondeau took a couple snaps a few years ago as a defensive lineman playing fullback. So this would be a drastic upgrade for Pittsburgh in the offense. And he's got some good receiving ability too. So it's not like you're sticking him out there and he's just going to be a battering ram to try to make room for Jalen Warren and now Caleb Johnson as well. He's a lot more skilled and more developed than that. So I'm excited about him too, and do truly think that he's got a chance of making this roster.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very excited for it as well. It's been a while since Pittsburgh had a fullback. Listen, I've been watching some Ben highlights just because I've been nerding out a little bit. And I love seeing Ben come in at the beginning of his career and doing checkdowns to Dan Kreider, okay? Like, it's been a while since we've had a decent tight end and one that can also receive the ball out of the backfield as well as block and pass protect block and everything else. So very, very, very excited for that. James, rookie mini camp and schedule release will be coming soon. Rookie mini camp, if I'm not mistaken, is dated and slated for you have that number on you.
I'm thinking the 9th for some reason, but
May 9th through the 11th is rookie mini camp. So very excited for that. That'll be probably at the team's practice facility. But excited to hear some reports from that because I think there's going to be some crazy ones. So super excited for that. And then the schedule release will be coming soon. And then James and I can plan which game we're going to go to, and you guys can come with us. So very, very, very excited for all the things happening. If you guys have your favorite draft pick or favorite undrafted free agent that you go, we'll happily do that. And so very, very, very excited about that. Thank you guys so much for being here and watching. If you're listening to anywhere where you listen to your podcast at, we can't thank you guys enough. So be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make James here very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.
Now it's time.